Relax.
The Elizabeth Cardero Show, take one.
Hi, Ty. How are you?
Elizabeth, I am great. Thank you for having me on today.
A great appearance on our on our recording. So
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm truly excited about it.
yeah, thank you so much for coming with me today and giving me some of your time to share information with some of our viewers. Most of our viewers are business owners, women, entrepreneurs, and people in general that want to learn about leaders and leadership and business in general, but most importantly, about the time that we're living today. Um,
Right.
First of all, let's start by tell us about you. Tell us about who you are. What makes Ty?
Oh, boy. Well, first of all, thank you so much again for inviting me on to talk to your viewers and to reconnect with you. But to answer your questions about me, I'm a North Carolinian. I'm a native Southerner from Raleigh, North Carolina. I played soccer in college and professionally for a bit. I'm in the world of politics. I was in the world of politics. I was an elected official. I was state legislator for 2 terms and was President Obama's national spokesperson and was on the short list to become ambassador to Canada during his first term. I'm a former small business owner. I had my own consulting firm for over 10 years, and we had a presence in 43 states, three countries, Canada, Holland, and the UK. After I left, unfortunately, with the downturn of the economy back in the late 2008, 2009, I ended up shuttering the business, and so went into a different direction and ended up becoming regional vice president of a national mortgage company, which in turn, that's how you and I met at a NAREP leadership conference in Washington, D.C.
Correct.
And what an amazing, first of all, you are an amazing person.
Oh.
And your spark is absolutely magnificent. And your leadership skills, both as a woman professional, a Latina, and someone who's just really engaged in the community, was such a refreshing breath of air that our interactions then led to our friendships now, and so now I work at Cisco Systems, where I lead a team that deals with virtual sales.
Oh, okay. Okay. And so tell us about what keeps you motivated. It sounds like you've accomplished a lot. And for most people, when they hear that your background, they're probably thinking, oh my God, how do I ever get there? So walk me back in times when you were actually starting to dream, when you actually started to become this person that wanted to accomplish all these things. What went in your mind? What were those steps that you had to take to get there, or the fears that you had to overcome?
Right. Well, the dreaming started when I was a little kid. I had 2 incredibly wonderful parents. My father was a mechanic. My parents were older. My father was a mechanic. My mother was a teacher. She was an educator. My mother was the catalyst. She was the engine for my hopes, dreams, and aspirations. In fact, if I heard it once, I heard it 1,000 times from her, is that you could grow up to be president of the United States.
Oh.
I was like, Mom, I just want to ride my bike. I'm just a kid. I just want to ride my bike. But sitting at the dinner table and discussing things with my parents and having and hearing the stories that they went through since they were older, going through the civil rights movement, towards the end of the civil rights movement, and saying that as a person of color, that I would have to work twice to 3 times as hard to just be considered equal to my white counterparts. And, it was one of these things, my mom would say these things, and she would say, like, both of them really focused on education. And she would say to me, she would tell me constantly, you know, get your education, because that's something that no one can take away from you. Never. They can never take your education away from you. And unfortunately, I lost my mother when I was 12 years old. She died of pancreatic cancer. But my dad was there. He was my hero. And he continued to instill these things in and about me, and just became a driving force for me to set my goals high and then do everything I can to soar beyond them. So that has been instilled in me from a very, very young age. And it has served me incredibly well as a driver in education, as a driver in business, as a driver in my community, and a driver in the world of just connecting people, you
Right.
know?
Right. And
So,
tell me a little bit more about community as a minority. I know that for me, when I came here, I also was told that I was different because I was of a different color, right? And I
right,
knew that in I guess not in words, but I always felt that I was less than because of the color I had and because the things that I had to do as an undocumented immigrant to get the same things that anybody else could get just for the
right,
fact that they were born here. And so
right.
how has that shaped the views that you have? How do you lobby for the equality? Because I feel in that sense we connect more about looking at people for who they are, right?
Right,
And what we think people should be because of certain uh, financial or color or any other
right.
status.
Gender, yeah, or any, yeah, yeah. That's an excellent question. Again, I both my parents are deceased. I oftentimes pay so much homage to them because they were the first role models that I had, and I am so very fortunate to have had such incredible role models. When I mentioned that my dad was a mechanic, just a little bit of background and history to go forward to answering your question. Since you know a little bit about my mother now, since I told you about the education side, my dad, my dad being a mechanic, his father was a sharecropper.
Mm.
So, and for those who only recall sharecropping from social studies or, you know, or in school, sharecropping was indentured servitude. So the white landowner would parcel off the land, and you would have a bit of the land that would be yours that you would rent. You didn't own it, you rented it. And so you had to grow your various crops and vegetation or whatnot on that rented parcel of land. Now, as you grow them and you sell them off, you're giving your rent to, they were giving their rent to the landowner, and then they had to buy their seeds and everything from the landowner. And they called it tuition, the tuition to get things. So my grandfather and my grandmother, after so much time, what they would do in the off seasons, as my dad would tell me, they would can and jar certain amounts of food to get them through the winter. So then they wouldn't have to buy or rent more seed and fertilizer or whatnot for their overall crops. And so that it lowered the amount of money that was being paid to the landowner until my grandfather bought his way out of, or earned his way out of, this indentured servitude known as sharecropping. He then opens up a business, a garage, and
Wow.
bought a plot of land, opened up, he bought a plot of land and divided into 4 parcels. One had the garage, one had the house. He built my grandmother a little store, like a little, she always wanted a little store. So he built her a store. And I forget what the 4th piece of land was used for. But he grew his business. He grew a mechanic shop, a garage. He then taught my dad all he knew about working on cars. If there was something, they loved cars, and they would work on cars, and people would then come in and get their car fixed, so on and so forth. So then fast forward, my dad had his own garage. And one of the things that he would say, he's like, you know, the people around you, you don't do anything by yourself. You may think you do, but you have to depend on others, your community, customers, your good reputation. You have to depend on all of these things to help grow your overall business. And so year over year over year, there was an effort by my dad to continue growing his business, hiring more mechanics, getting a larger space, opening more bays to get more cars in, making sure that people were taken care of. So watching this, all of these things, unfortunately, I'm not mechanically inclined. I know that, I mean, my dad tried to teach me, but again, I was like, I want to ride my bicycle. I want to kick my soccer ball. And, you know, he's like, you can't, you're not Pele, you. But anyhow, but all of that aside, basically was saying, you know, again, coming to education, get your education so that you're pushing a pencil as opposed to pushing a broom. And, you know, but rely on the people, reach out to people when you don't need them. Okay. And that's something that's very important. That's something I teach my boys is, you know, call your grandma when you don't need anything. Just call her out of the blue, call, you know, whomever, reach out so that people know that you're in touch and they're more apt to be open and welcoming to you as opposed to you're only calling them when you need something. So the community has been very strong in that regard, from education to disciplining. You know, if they saw us doing something bad, you know, they'd get after us, but also pushing us forward, giving us the role models that we needed. So I tell you all of that background to get to the point that, you know, my parents were a role model to me. They learned it from their elders. So I feel as if I have 3,000 ancestors walking behind and with me, supporting me, lifting me up so I can reach achievements and higher goals than they ever dreamed possible.
And it's wonderful to see that not many years ago, you know, our people couldn't do the things that we can do today, right?
Right.
When I think of my ancestors, I think of women that were repressed, that
Yes.
didn't have opportunity, and now I get to do whatever I want, right?
Right.
And tell me a little bit more from your perspective. What will you tell the people of color, the people of minorities, the people that feel in a way, I know that a lot of people feel discriminated.
Yes.
How will you help them, walk them through this situation? What will you advise them to feel better surrounded with other people that they may not accept them the way they are, because
Right.
your family seems to be, you know, wow, what an amazing story of inspiration and hardship to move out of that and still succeed. So what would you tell those people who are watching us today that, you know, maybe are struggling with that?
You know, it's really tough because I don't think there's one single answer that can really cover all the bases. And I say that because, you know, I'm not a spokesperson for all the guys. I'm not the spokesperson for all Black people or persons of color in that regard. But what I will say to your audience, to the people that are on the line today, to the people that will see this this recording in the future on YouTube, is, you know, you have to believe in yourself. No matter what, you have to be your biggest fan. It's tough. There are days, there have been many times, and I'm sure that you and your audience members can relate to this, where you're the only person of color in a room, you're the only woman in a room, you're the only whatever the only may be, in a room of other business professionals. When I was younger, it used to be, oh my gosh, you speak so eloquently, you speak so well, you're so well spoken. Well, what did you expect me to be? You know, because it's taken for granted. Like, white people don't, you know, say stuff like that about themselves. They don't say, oh, he speaks so well for a white guy.
That's right.
No. Or she speaks so well for a Latina. You know, they speak English so, like, that isn't that it, because theirs is the granted. Theirs is they see it as the base. I would say you have to believe in yourself. You will get knocked down. You will get looked at. And if you can find a way to take whatever you're feeling and turn it, instead of using it as a, having it used as a weapon against you, you invert it and you weaponize it, or you use it to energize you so you can propel forward. And so that way you're taking anything that's, the negative comments like, oh geez, there goes the neighborhood, here comes the black guy, that type of thing. And I take it as, hey, I'm a person of color, and I'm gonna take opportunity to educate you when I see that there's things that you don't really understand. And you take a moment to correct. And I use it as an educational tool, but I also use it as something that motivates me and drives me to say that I have a responsibility to continue moving forward so that my kids have a clear runway to take off from. Something that I used to say all the time when I was in the legislature is that the road was paved long before I came along. My obligation, my responsibility is to maintain it for those who are coming behind me.
Oh, that's very beautiful. That's very powerful, actually. And it's very true. And I think at one point we have to realize that sometimes when we don't understand other cultures, that's when we make the mistake to assume. Because
Right.
everybody has the good, everybody has the bad, everybody has the smart, we all have everything, right? But I see when I came to live to this country, I see that beautiful diversity that we should
Yeah.
take advantage of, learning from other
Right.
cultures, their food, what makes them. It's really beautiful
Right.
to be
Right.
culturally inclined. And so I don't want per se give more power to these conversations, because for me it feels like we already here, we're equally
Right.
the same. And so when people say certain things to me, it's like, whatever. I mean, I don't see myself different than a white person.
Right.
Really, it's just
Right.
like I'm a person,
Right.
and I never feel that way, thankfully. But it's kind of those things that we as a society need to embrace, right? Embrace
Right.
the difference, embrace that somebody, and learn from them, ask them, come close. And us as citizens in general should come up and say and show the best of us, right? And try to be
Right.
the best citizens we can.
Right. Be ambassadors. Yeah, absolutely. But I
Correct.
also think, but to go a little bit further on that, you are absolutely right in my opinion. But I also think, and we recognize, and for your diverse group of viewers, whether they're white, black, men, women, so on and so forth, we also recognize that it's important to remember where we came from as well. So each of us, whether it's the gender, whether it's a cultural difference, each of us, when we're around our folks, our respective groups, we let our hair down. Oh wait, wrong phrase. We can. We call it speaking in code, because you can turn it on when you need to, or like when you're around your friends and all this kind of stuff, you could be like, okay, man, let me tell you what we talked about today, or let me tell you what happened. Because there's a commonality, there's that communal understanding of from where you've come, but also an eye on the horizon as to where you are potentially going.
Yeah, very, very powerful. Tell me a little bit about how are you currently mentoring other people? Are you currently mentoring others that perhaps want to get into the same positions that you had before and see you and look up to you? How are you doing that? And what's been the most rewarding thing of doing that, giving back to the community in that sense?
Right. That is a constant. That is a constant, whether in the form of business, whether in the form of representing my gender in a specific way of saying, don't be that guy, whatever that may be. Pull your pants up, put a belt on, that type of thing. Whether that be politically or otherwise. So it is a constant for me. One of the things that makes me happy is there was an article that was written about me when I was in the legislature, and it was talking about the torch being passed to the new generation, the new guard. and I was apparently the one being handed the torch at that time, the metaphorical torch at that time. And there were young Democrats. I'm a Democrat. There were young Democrats that were around me, black, white, male, female, that, you know, I was constantly saying, you are the next generation of leaders. You are next gen. And so I believe that you don't gain power by hoarding it, by hugging it closely to you. You gain power by opening up and empowering others. So fast forward, one of my mentees, he used to work in my, or work around my office. He was in education, but worked around my legislative office, is now a member of the North Carolina General Assembly. His name is Zach Hawkins. And I saw him at Christmas time, and he just gave me the biggest hug and said, it's because of you that I knew. I knew. It gave me the just hope, the glimmer of hope that I could be here, and I knew that I would get here. And I said, buddy, you did it on your own. It was all you. I can only lead you to the doorway. You've got to pass through the threshold.
That's very, very true.
Yeah.
And now it's changing a little bit, and that's the beautiful example of a true leader, because yes, he felt so inspired by you, and that tells me that leadership, it's very big. You know, people see it in you. But let's talk about the other side of people, the side of people that no matter how much you try leading them, they're living fearful moments right now, right? We live in a moment of uncertainty. We have business shutting down. We have people already in panic. Tell us a little bit about what steps do you think people should take right now, mentally wise, and, you know, in overall, in your opinion, to go through these moments?
So such a vitally important question. You know, we are right at a month, well, actually more than a month of having the coronavirus currently in the US. And we are seeing the numbers of infected people go up. The death rate is going up. We're constantly hearing about it on the news. First of all, listen to the experts, listen to the scientists, listen to the doctors who are telling you what to do, what to expect, what not to do, okay? No talking heads, and I won't mention any names, but no talking heads who are blustering about and downplaying things. You have to protect yourself, because you don't know if you're carrying or infecting someone. And Dr. Fauci, I was listening to him a few weeks ago, had the hardest, most resolute answer to a woman who was saying that her wedding was coming up in X number of weeks, and she was fearful that, you know, should I cancel it and so on and so forth. And he goes, you can have the wedding if you want to. You can go and have a good time, but you're going to kill your grandfather. And the reaction was like, oh my gosh. But that is the stark reality coming from the leader in the science as a doctor, so on and so forth. Yes, it's a time that is filled with a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. People don't know. Some are taking it more seriously than others. I tell folks, I'm constantly, you know, I guess you can tell from my personality, I believe that laughter is a tremendously helpful medicine. And I try to keep things light and spirits buoyed. And I reach out to people that I hadn't talked to in a while, because although I may be accustomed to working from home, and or I have the mental fortitude of staying disciplined and strong with what I'm doing, there are a lot of other people who are out there who are not in that position, or they are so accustomed to being around people that, you know, this is really tough. Or, as some people on another call I was on earlier today were saying, my family's about to drive me crazy. I can't.
Yeah.
My kids, ooh. So what I try to tell them is just take a moment to find something to laugh about, okay? Whether it's a funny meme on Facebook or social media, which, by the way, on my Facebook page or my some other social media, I'm constantly putting funny stuff out right now just to make people laugh. But I would encourage everyone to reach out to someone else, and not just a simple text or or an email, pick up the phone and call them. Why? Because we all are home right now. You know? They can't hide from you. But check in on those that, you know, who you care about, you haven't talked to, so on and so forth, but also use it as a vehicle by which to mentally remain healthy for yourself. So as airline pilots will tell you, the captain comes on and says, you know, if the air mask drops down, put your air mask on first before you help someone else. Because if you're not taking care of yourself first, there's no way that you can take care of someone else.
Very, very true. And that's really great advice. And that reminds me of laughter yoga. And I know you are doing some yoga right now. And I remember taking a class, and that was very, very helpful. So that's something that people can do. It's free. It's not costing anything. And so that's something that will help everyone. So what is that what's helping you right now? Is that what you're implementing for yourself also? Is that something that has been helpful throughout these times? Obviously, you've been working from home, so you probably don't see that impact so much as other people do.
Right, right. Yes, I'm a certified yoga teacher. 300 hours
You're
training.
everything. I just
know.
realized that anybody.
Oh my God, he does it all.
Contact you.
He does it all, honey.
Who would have thought?
No, I for about 8 years now, I've been taking yoga, and then 3 years ago, I became a licensed yoga instructor.
Okay.
And now I'm not taking laughter yoga. I'm not doing anything like that. That's new to me, so I may have to check that out. But I teach classes. It has been a wonderful thing for me. The students who come in who carry the stress of their day, their lives, their, you know, everything that's going on, because you never know what someone's going through. You know, I know that firsthand. You know, you put on a great face, but you never know what someone's going through. And whatever outlet it may be, whether it's yoga, whether it's reading, whether it's crocheting, whether it's, you know, going for a run, whatever outlets that people can find to reduce their overall stress, to keep their mental health, you know, as high as possible, do it. Since we're in the lockdown phase here in North Carolina, I'm now live streaming from my living room yoga classes, which is, you know, quite interesting, you know, because I have to do different things and push the piano and love seat and stuff out of the way to make a little room right in the living room. And people are like, hey, you know, nice, I love your cactus. And I have to mute them and then really get them to focus on things. But yeah, I use yoga. I go for walks. You know, aside from working out, like I love to just go for a walk, because, you know, when you're running, you're not focused on what's going on. Like, oh my gosh, that's a gorgeous moonrise, or the sunset is this, or look at the flowers. No, you're thinking, don't let me die out here. I gotta get up this hill. My heart rate is going up. But I go on walks so I can at least be able to experience so much of what's going on around me. And that is very calming as well.
That's really great. Tell me, maybe for our viewers, a few books that got you to where you are in your life view, or your business, or, you know, your political views. What was maybe a few books that changed your life and inspire you to do what, you know, take action and so forth?
What a great question. It's rare that in my speaking opportunities that I get to talk about books that I've either read or that I want to read or that have a significant impact on me. I read a book called Picking Cotton. It was a story about the background is a black man was accused of raping a white woman, but it turned out he didn't do it. They ended up connecting, resolving. He went to jail, he went to prison, resolving, and now they go around telling the story about, you know, how false incrimination has such an incredibly impactful, well, it would be incredibly impactful, but it ruins lives. And so it was a great eye opener that happened, just a couple of hours away from me here in North Carolina. So that's one book. Another book on the business side that I would recommend for every one of the viewers, if they have not read it yet, it's called Raving Fans. And you can Google it and whatnot. Now it's an easy read. It's really simple. But what it does, it breaks down aspects of you as a seller, or maybe a business owner, or maybe someone within a business, or maybe a customer to a business. And it basically tells you, or it allows for you to understand how every aspect of the business you want people to get excited about. So if in my previous businesses, what I would tell folks is that everybody is a salesperson. And I don't care if you're actually a title of salesperson or, sales, or if you're just the receptionist in that regard. You're never just the receptionist. Something just popped up here. What is, this means, okay. So it was just Zoom. A lot of people are using Zoom. I'm not familiar with it because we use WebEx, but that's beside the point. But in this book, Raving Fans, it talks about how every person within the structure of the business is doing something that they're performing their role. But within their role, they interact with other people. So if you are a receptionist, you want to be pleasant and upbeat and so on and so forth. So when your customers come in, or when, the delivery person comes in, you are the first point of contact, and they can say, wow, I really love the way, Dawn or Kimberly or Phil or Tom, they have such great energy. I love going into their office. That then carries over to the people that are on the sales floor who are making the calls. If you're dependent upon someone doing their job, they're dependent upon you doing your job, and the customer is dependent upon all of you doing the job in order to perform the service that they're purchasing. And when you do so, when everybody is doing their job, it really makes a great network, a great mesh that the company gets to receive. You as an individual become part of the whole that makes your business grow.
Wow.
So that's one book. And another, I've got books that are stacked up that are in the queue for me to read. And
It's
and
so
someone
hard,
said,
right?
I get so excited about it, and I'll start reading one, and then I'll pick up another one and be like, okay. But yeah, those are just a couple of books, by the way, that have really impacted me.
So if somebody have never met you before, and you had the opportunity to tell them your one biggest life advice, what would it be? What would it be for somebody? If they had to walk with this one thing that they had to know in life, what would it be?
Oh, wow. That is, I don't know if I've ever had that question posed to me before, Elizabeth. I feel like there's so many little nuggets that I could throw in, but if there was one thing to tell someone, I would say that it's several things.
Okay, you can tell me several things.
Well, I would say that there's a couple. Let's say there's four of them. The four big pillars that I would say to someone as they continue their journey in life. Everything is temporary. Okay? Everything is temporary. So no matter what you are going through, good or bad, it may not last always. Or better yet, it won't last always. So if you're going through a rough spot, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's you're stressed about bills, just know it will not last forever. All right? If you're the top person on the heap and you're just like, yeah, I'm killing it, and so on and so forth, just know you may not always be there. So do what you need to do to project forward. And what happens if you begin to slip a bit? So, you can be number one, but always work like you're number two. Okay. The second thing is breathe. Breathe. take an opportunity to slow down, take a breath. When you get somebody that is driving you crazy, a customer, a relationship, you know, a boss, your kids, whatever it may be, and you're just like, oh my God, I'm going to tear that. Take a moment, 30 seconds just to say, it will help you calm down. Inhale, exhale, repeat, breathe. The third thing I would say is the only competition you have is the one that appears in the mirror. Okay? So every day, try to be a better person, a better friend, a better spouse, a better business person than you were the day before. You may not achieve that goal. You may fully surpass that goal, but focus on you. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Focus on you and how you can become a better person. It's a little side note to that. Every January 1st, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, I make my goals. A lot of people do, but I make my goals. The top thing that I put in there, you know, it's like my mantra is to become a better person, a better friend, a better father. Okay? And that is my objective. That is my goal, you know, for whatever the year is.
So,
And,
oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say, and then the fourth pillar is to laugh. You got to have fun. You can't be the person that's like so serious all the time.
I know.
You know, take your job seriously, but don't take yourself so seriously.
Very true. And I remember that of you. You're always like making jokes, making everybody laugh. I remember having a good time because your sense of humor was like absolutely incredible. But on that side note, talk to us about you as a father. What are you trying to pass on to your children? How is it that you're able to do and accomplish all these things for those who are parents? How do you manage your time? What is it like? What sacrifices you have to take? How do you try not to take sacrifices with your children?
Yeah, it's tough. You know, I was in the throes of everything when my kids were younger. You know, my business was growing, or I was trying to get it to continue to grow, and it's tough. I mean, it's tough. And then trying to balance. You know, at the time when I was married, it was a spousal thing you try to balance along with being a parent, as well as the responsibilities of being with your kids. You've got to set up a structure. And that structure is you have to respect yourself, number one, and the boundaries. So you have to set your boundaries. So you could let customers or coworkers know, hey, I'm available to you from this time to this time. That's your time. But when you fall on either side of those times, that's my time. And I need to devote my time with my family or to my spouse or to myself. I'll get back to you. I will, you know, I'll address whatever I need to address. But just know that here are the boundaries, and you keep it within those guardrails and say, anything in here, perfect. Anything out here, that's mine.
Very, very good. Very good. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been it's been opening my mind to hear this amazing advice that you have to give to everyone so successful and you know, so opening. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our viewers before we depart?
Well, first of all, again, thank you so much for having me on your show, talking to your audience. You are such a wonderful and magnificent person, and I can't tell you that enough. What you are doing is impacting so many people in such a positive way that I want you to continue to be the spark for them and, you know, be a role model for them as you continue to move forward. The one thing that I would leave with everyone, no matter what your situation is, especially right now with everything being so very uncertain and there's a lot of doubt, just know that you have survived 100% of everything that's been thrown at you already in life. You've already survived it, because if you didn't survive it, you wouldn't be here right now.
Very true. Are there any?
Everything's going to be okay. You're gonna be okay. So just know you are strong enough to survive it.
And out of the top of your head, are there any resources people that live in your area that they can go and look up, look after, or is there a website that you recommend that people that are, we do see difficult times coming up? So are there any resources on the top of your head that you can maybe mention to people? Like I know in my community, we have food banks, local food banks, we have church, we have, so is there anything like that that maybe people in difficult situations can go after? You know, you as a community, as a leader in the community are probably aware of these things. If not, that's fine, but maybe something that can be helpful to people in need right now.
Well, you mentioned two great ones right there, between the food bank as an example and churches. What's the challenge right now is that direct interaction. So I think everybody right now is still trying to figure out how they're moving forward in this new normal that we are currently under. If I can get back to you with a couple of things for people that might be, you know, viewing in this surrounding area or in general terms, maybe you can put that up on your page. But right now, I think things, like in North Carolina, we just went under a stand in place directive as of, what's today, Wednesday? So as of Monday. So all the days are running.
I know, we don't know anymore.
All of the days are running together. But as of Monday. So I think organizations and nonprofits and groups that are designed to help others right now are really trying to figure out how they first help themselves to get organized enough to be able to help others.
Very true. And I think it's important right now in these times for the people that have anything to give and share to do so, whether that's in the form of a conversation with a friend, right? That's also helpful. Or maybe sharing water or food or whatever resources that they have, or being more compassionate, maybe being able to waive for people that cannot afford the rent and things like that. So that's we have to be uplifting right now. These are times to be, and I think we're going to learn a lot about ourselves by the end of this, right?
Absolutely.
And as a community as well. And so with that, you know, we want to I want to say thank you again. Remember that they said that we see in others what we see in ourselves. So I'm very happy you think of that. You think that way of me.
Yes, absolutely.
It only tells me that you're a very good person, and how inside, you know, everything that you've done to become as successful as you are, and how you continue to share with the community, how you care with the community. And I really want to thank you for your time today. It's been a wonderful interview. I'm very happy, and I'm sure a lot of my viewers are going to be very excited to hear your advice. And so thank you so much, and I hope we'll have you in the future.
Thank you so very much. Thank you to all the viewers. Everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and laugh.
And we'll watch your Facebook videos, okay?
Oh my gosh.
Watch your videos. Okay.
Take care.
Wonderful
Thank you
time.
so much.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.